Devi Srimad Paramahamsa Parvajapacharya Sutter Sutta His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, is co-founder Charlie Shri Prabhupada Ki, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Visada Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki, Shri Mayapur Dham Ki, Ganga Mai Ki, Yamuna Mai Ki, Bhakti Devi Ki, Tulsi Devi Ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Kantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki, Nita Gaur Pramanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayana Namaskritya. Nam Jaiva Narottama. Devam Saraswatam Vyasam. Sodayam Udirayat. Nastapreshu Bhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Utamashloke. Bhaktir Bhakti Naishiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as a reliable fact. So, today we're starting a brand new chapter, chapter 22. Prithvi Maharaj is meeting with the four Kumaras. So if, I don't know, if any of you looked at the cover of this Bhagavatam, you can see we have the sacrifice here, big party going on, celestial party. And right here in the background, we got four Kumaras. Although in this picture, the four Kumaras are dressed like brahmacharis. So anyway, so today we will be doing text 1 and 2, since text 1 has no purport. So I will just chant text 1, and then we will do text 2, kind of like all together. What do you call that? Responsibly. Maitreya vacha janeshu pragrinatsvaim evam pritum pritula vikramam tatropajagmurmuna yash chavara surya varchasya. All right, so now we're going back to the conversation with Maitreya and Vidura. The great sage Maitreya said, while the citizens were thus praying to the most powerful King Prithu, the four Kumaras, who are as bright as the sun, arrived on the spot. So you can imagine, we're all sitting here discussing Bhagavatam Katha, and think about if Radhanath Swami, Indradumna Swami, Jayadvaita Swami, they all walk through the door. Everybody would be like, wow. and I would probably get off the chair. Anyway, so what to speak of if the four Kumaras suddenly arrived on the scene? We have Prithu Maharaj. He's just finished giving the instructions to his citizens, and he's told them, you do your occupational duty, engaging your duties for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and by doing so, I will get benefit for doing that. And he's telling them, the importance of worshiping, respecting the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas. And why is this? This is because the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas, they hold the knowledge of pure devotional service, like the guide for human life. Because without that guide, human life is basically kind of just like animal life if there's no goal. So they hold the meaning to life. So therefore, the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are very dear to the Lord. So Prithu Maharaj, he ended his instructions with that, and thinking the citizens are praising him, glorifying him, and then now the four Kumaras come. Okay, Tams tu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tams tu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Vomno Vratarator Richisa.
Yomno Vratarator Richisa.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Sadnugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Tamsu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Sannugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Vyomno Vatarato Richisa.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Sannugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Alright, please chant.
Tamsu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Lokam Apapam Kurvanan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Yomno Vatarato Richasa.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Lokana Papan Kurvana.
Lokana Papan Kurvanan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Lokana Papana Kurvanam.
Lokana Papan Kurvanan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Tamstu Siddheshwaram Raja.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Yomno Vatarato Richisa.
Lokana Papan Kurvanan.
Lokana Papan Kurvanan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Sadhugo Chasta Lakshitan.
Alright, word for word. Tan,
Tan,
them,
Them,
to,
Tu,
but.
but,
Siddha Ishvaran,
Siddha Ishvaran,
masters of all mystic power.
Master of all mystic power.
Raja,
Raja,
the king.
the king,
Vyomnaha,
Vyomna,
from the sky.
from the sky,
Avatarataha,
Avatarataha,
while descending.
All
descended,
Arshisa,
Ashisha,
by their glaring effulgence.
by
by
the
the
glaring
glaring
effulgence.
Lokan,
Lokan,
all the planets.
All planets.
Apapan,
Mahapan.
sinless.
sinless,
Korbanan,
Purvanan.
doing so.
doing so,
Sa Anugaha,
Sanugaha.
with his associates.
with his associates,
Ajasta,
Shasta,
recognize.
recognized,
Lakshitan,
Ashitan,
by seeing them.
by seeing them.
Translation. Seeing the glowing effulgence of the four Kumaras, the masters of all mystic power, the king and his associates could recognize them as they descended from the sky. Let's repeat. Seeing the glowing effulgence of the four Kumaras,
Seeing the glowing effulgence of the
four
four
Kumaras,
the masters of all mystic power,
the masters of all mystic power,
the king and his associates
the king and his associates,
could recognize them
could recognize them
as they descended from the sky.
as they descended from the sky.
Purport. The four Kumaras are described herein as Siddheshvaran, which means masters of all mystic power. One who has attained perfection in yoga practice immediately becomes master of the 8 mystic perfections, to become smaller than the smallest, to become lighter than the lightest, to become bigger than the biggest, to achieve anything one desires, to control everything, etc. Which one's your favorite? We're all going to pretend like we don't want mystic powers.
I feel like the last one contains all of this.
Yeah.
Because supreme control.
All right. To achieve anything one desires is pretty cool. Yes. These four Kumaras, as Siddheshvaras, had achieved all the yogic perfectional achievements, and as such, they could travel in outer space without machines. While they were coming to Maharaj Prithu from the other planets, they did not come by airplane, but personally. In other words, these four Kumaras were also spacemen, like Narnamuni, who could travel in space without machines. The residents of the planet known as Siddhaloka can travel in outer space from one planet to another without vehicles. However, the special power of the Kumaras mentioned here within is that whatever place they went to would immediately become sinless. During the reign of Maharaj Prithu, everything on the surface of the globe was sinless, and therefore the Kumaras decided to see the king. Ordinarily, they would not go to any planet which is sinful. Okay, Om Gananam Shaganam Shakaya Shakshram Taminata Asma Shigurvay Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishram Stapitam Yana Putale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dedati Swatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Parakamalam Shri Guru and Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savajitam Prajana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakambitam Shah He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesha Kapikankanta Radhikanta Namostute Tata Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Pancha Kalpatrubhyasha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavnevyo Vaishnavivo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So yesterday when I was doing a little study of the Bhagavatam, I found out exactly why the four Kumaras are coming just now. Does anybody else remember? Because I totally forgot about this verse. There's a verse back maybe like 2 chapters ago that tells us why the four Kumaras are arriving on the scene just now. So we've been going through this sacrifice of Prithvi Maharaj. And just like with any sacrifice, there's always some chance for speaking Sankata. Just like when there's initiation, there's usually some talking beforehand. Or whenever there's a wedding, there's usually some talking beforehand. Or even when we're all getting together to do the Yuga Dharma for Kirtan Mela, there's usually some discussion during this Mela about the glories of the holy name. So in the same way, the sacrifice of Maharaj Prithvi is no different. There's been all this great Hari Katha going on. And prior to the four Kumaras coming on the scene, back in chapter 20, if you all remember, there was another great personality, and that was Lord Vishnu. And there was this nice conversation with Lord Vishnu and Prithvi Maharaj. And Lord Vishnu told Prithvi Maharaj in text 15 of chapter 20, he said, "My dear Prithu, if you continue to protect the citizens according to the instructions of the learned Brahmin authorities, as they are received by disciplic succession, by hearing from master to disciple, and if you follow the religious principles laid down by them, without attachment to ideas manufactured by mental concoction, then every one of your citizens will be happy and will love you." That he did all this. And then here's the main thing. "And very soon you will be able to see such already liberated personalities as the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara." So we know Krishna keeps his word to his devotees. And because Prithvi Maharaj had done all of this, now the four Kumaras are coming on the scene. So it's quite interesting, this amazing dance that the Lord has with his devotees, is it not? Because it said, by the mercy of the devotees, you get Krishna. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets the mercy of Krishna. However, you get Lord Vishnu, and he'll send you his devotees. So it's this amazing thing, the devotees come, and they're wanting to give Krishna. But when Krishna comes, he wants to give his devotees. He wants the devotees to have credit for these things. So it's really, really sweet. You can see this relationship that goes on, with the Vishnu and the four Kumaras. So the four Kumaras, if we remember, they were the rebellious sons of Lord Brahma, but rebellious in a good way. When Lord Brahma had created, he's the engineer of our universe, and we had created everything. All right, now we got to fill it up, because there's souls that want to come to this material world to try to enjoy. And so here's their place, and now we got to put them here. So he had to be a progenitor. So he had the four Kumaras with the intention that they were going to help him, populate the universe. And so, but when they were born, they said, Dad, we don't really want to get entangled in these material things. We want to take to the renounced order of life. And in fact, we want to stay like small little boys, so we don't have to become entangled and everything. So by their mystic power, they stay like these small little, about 5-year-old boys. And of course, he wasn't happy about this. It's like the time when I first moved into the temple, we had a very nice brahmachari there from India, a disciple called Gandaprabhu. His name was Nimai Pandit. And he was very shy, very strict devotee. And I never really spoke to him because somebody had told me that the ladies weren't supposed to speak to the men in saffron. It was one particular devotee. So, I would just kind of always, Hare Krishna, and I walked past him. And one day I was sitting down taking prasadam. Of course, it was a fanatical, kind of like this really, really fanatical devotee that told me that. I was sitting down taking prasadam, and he was 3 tables over from me. And he looked up at me and he said, "So, are you liking Krishna consciousness?" And I said, "Oh, yes, very much, Prabhu." And he said, "What do your parents think?" And I said, "Well, they're not very happy, Prabhu." And then finally I got the courage and thought, well, if he's talking to me, I'm going to ask him a question. So, so I said, "What do your parents think about you being a brahmachari?" And he looked at me and he said, "They don't know." He was getting his PhD in physics at the time. And all they knew was that he was getting his PhD in physics. But we had a very nice system at the Krishna house where you could live there and go to school at the same time. So, yeah, he was, that was his like rebellion. And he looked at me with the most mischievous look on his face, like I'm being bad. So in the same way, although later I found out that his mother wanted him to get married. He went through his PhD and he wanted to go to Chowpatty, because you have to have like at least a master's degree to be a brahmachari there. And his mother really, really wanted him to get married, so he got married later. But anyway, with the 4 Kumaras, they told their father, "Yeah, father, we're not really into this." And Lord Brahma, because he's in charge of mode of passion, and in the mode of passion, you have to create. But sometimes the mode of passion can lead to anger. So he became very angry. Sons are being rebellious. So out of his anger, manifested Rudra, Shiva. So it's going to be described here that actually the 4 Kumaras are older than Shiva himself. But it all worked out for Lord Brahma in the end because he had Swayambhuva Manu, and he also had Karma Muni. They all helped. They were progenitors. And then he also had Daksha. So, no loss there. So the 4 Kumaras, they're very much like Narada Muni. They're perfect in these 8 mystic perfections. And actually, these 8 mystic perfections, they're nothing really that extraordinary for the devotee. In fact, I was listening to one lecture by Srila Prabhupada where he was explaining that we all have this yogic potency within us. So it's dormant. So actually, you have the ability for yogic perfections, and you have the ability for yogic, and you have. It's dormant. It hasn't been brought out yet. But by the proper training, these things can be brought out. But for a devotee of the Lord, for a bhakti yogi, they don't necessarily worry about these yogic perfections because they come automatically for one who is perfect in devotional service. And sometimes the devotees may use them, and sometimes not. Sometimes they don't have to use them. Sometimes Krishna takes care of everything for them, so they don't have to use these yogic perfections. But in this case, the 4 Kumaras are using their abilities to travel through space to go to the planet where Prithu Maharaj is residing. And this is very interesting. We can see from this purport that like attracts like. Maharaj Prithu had made his planet sinless by his rule because he had all the citizens engaging in their duty, and he also was engaging in his proper duty. So as we know from Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, whatever action a great man does, common men follow. So Prithu Maharaj, being the leader of the entire world at this time, because he was engaging so steadily in his duty and being a devotee of the Lord, this inspired other citizens. We can see that a great personality, they have the ability to inspire others in certain ways. Just like I remember when I was a little bit younger, and possibly before this. I think this movement might have started in the 80s. They had this straight edge movement, you know. You guys hear about this?
Mhm.
I went to school with some friends that were straight edge. I said, what does straight edge mean? We don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't do drugs. Because many bands were into this, musicians, they were into this type of thing. So it was inspiring younger people to not engage in these type of activities. And we all know that whatever the leaders of our society are doing, politicians, the entertainers, human society is generally going to follow that. So now we see that within society, people are engaging in so many sinful activities because our politicians do that. You hear all the time about these scandals. You know, like if someone doesn't pay their taxes, they're doing this illegal activity, that illegal activity. So since they quote they can get away with it, I'll get away with it. But Prithvi Maharaj, he said, no, I'm going to follow the path of the Brahmanas, the path of the Vaishnavas. And because of that, the 4 Kumaras were attracted and they were coming to hear Prithvi Maharaj. So all of our politicians, they're getting on Epstein's list. We see Prithvi Maharaj, he's getting on the A list of the 4 Kumaras and they're coming to visit him. So, and then also we see here the effects of association. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's all these items of devotional service that are listed. I think 64. And then there's 5 that are considered the most potent. And what are these 5? Yes.
Sadhu Sangha, associated with
Yes. Anyone else?
I don't know.
Yes. Change the holy name. Yes.
Bhagavat Shravan,
Bhagavad Shravan. Yes.
Associated with the, oh, you sorry.
Said that one already. What?
Puravasa.
With Ravasa. Yes.
I think in the back we didn't get with the question.
We're talking about the 5 most important items of devotional service. So far we've got associating with devotees, chanting the holy name, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, living in a holy place, and there's one more. Worshipping the deity. Yes. So we did we probably did all 5 of these this morning. We're coming together. Rangalarsi, devotees are there chanting together, worshipping the deity. Now we're doing Bhagavad Gita. And so actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he describes that out of one of these 5, there's one that's the most important. Association, yes. Because by association, you get all the other 4. So it's so important. Even actually regular materialists, they know who we associate with. If it determines who we're actually going to become in life. Prabhupada would say, if you want to learn how to be a drunkard, you associate with those drunkards. So in the same way, we can see even with the 4 Kumaras. Originally, they were Brahman bodies, but they smelled the tulsi leaves that were coming from the feet of Lord Vishnu. And we know Tulsi Devi, she's a pure devotee of the Lord. So by that association with Tulsi Devi, they were awakened to bhakti. So association is very powerful. So we see here that the 4 Kumaras are coming, and Prithvi Maharaj, he's going to receive them very nicely. You'll see this throughout the Bhagavatam, that when a great personality comes, they're offered this great respect, they're offered a nice seat, they're offered some really, really sweet words, and then later some inquiry comes. And so Maharaj Prithvi, he's going to ask them a question. And that question, the 4 Kumaras are going to spend just about the rest of the chapter explaining this question. So the association of the devotees is so powerful that just by that association, one can actually be inspired to become a devotee of the Lord. They give up all their bad habits. So therefore, Prithvi Maharaj, by his power as king, he's giving his citizens the association of the four Kumaras because he's already told them, you do your varnashram duty, you do it for Krishna. But then he's going to ask the four Kumaras a question, and it's going to be for the benefit of the citizens of the Lord. And this question is going to be, let's see here. Okay, how in this material world can we very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life? So now that he's told his citizens, do your duty, do it for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now he's giving them the association of the four Kumaras, and they're going to explain to them how they can achieve the ultimate goal of life. So this chapter is actually very long. It's about 63 verses, so I can't summarize the whole entire chapter. But that's how it's basically going to go. And then we can see that whenever a great personality comes, a great devotee comes, everybody becomes very enlightened. Everybody becomes very enlivened, and they want to be the best devotee that they can possibly be. Every time, you go to a festival or something, and you have Vaisheshika giving the class. Or I remember I went to Sadhu Sangha a few years ago, and I sat in a class with Sitala Dasi. She was speaking about Narottam Das Thakur. And I was so inspired just by hearing this katha of Narottam Das Thakur. I thought, I want the qualities of Narottam Das Thakur. So by associating with these devotees who are pure devotees, it naturally awakens our desire to become a devotee. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he actually prays in his song, O Hey Vaishnava Thakur, he says, O Venerable Vaishnava, devotee of Krishna, ocean of mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. I hold on to your lotus feet. Teach me to control my 6 passions, rectify my 6 faults, bestow upon me the 6 qualities, and offer unto me the 6 kinds of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtan of the holy name of Hari. Please bless me by giving me 1 drop of faith by which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, and you have the power to give him. I am simply your servant, running behind you, shouting, Krishna, Krishna. So this is the mood of the Vaishnava. They want to give Krishna to others. And when the devotee is ready, when the spiritual practitioner is ready, by the mercy of Chaitya Guru, the Vaishnava appears. So I was reading yesterday about Lord Chaitanya's travels to South India. And I'm sure all of you have read this. Lord Chaitanya, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's acting in the mood of a devotee. And so previously Lord Chaitanya was in Navadvip, and then later he took sannyas. And he went to Jagannath Puri. But then later he wanted to go on a tour to South India. And all the devotees, they didn't want him to go because they didn't want to be without him. But Lord Chaitanya, he made up an excuse. He said, I went to go, find my brother Vishwambar. But at this time, he knew that Vishwambar had already left the planet. He wanted to go to give Krishna consciousness to the citizens of South India. It kind of made me think about how when Prabhupada established this 26th Avenue, and people thought, okay, Prabhupada's here, he's with us, this is kind of our thing. And then he left and he went across the country to California to establish a center there. And people were thinking, wow, we never thought Krishna consciousness would kind of go beyond our little storefront in New York. But they were all feeling this great separation from Srila Prabhupada. And then again, when Srila Prabhupada went to India. So Srila Prabhupada, kind of like in this mood with Lord Chaitanya, he's going around and spreading Krishna consciousness, giving Krishna consciousness everywhere. And so I'll read a little bit from this chapter, if you don't mind, because I found it very inspiring. And there's also a very important lesson in here about how, the preacher can be there, the Krishna consciousness can be there, but the area has to be ready to be able to receive it. Kind of like with Prithu Maharaj, he made his planet or his kingdom completely sinless. And so therefore it said that the four Kumaras, they normally don't go to a place which is sinful. but he made that place, ready to be able to receive great personalities such as the four Kumars. So I'll read a little bit of this chapter for you. Hopefully you don't fall asleep. I found it very enlivening, so I think you might as well. Okay, so almost like a madman, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went on his tour filled with ecstatic love and performing Sankirtan, chanting Krishna's names as follows. The Lord chanting this verse, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, known as Gaurahari, went on his way. As soon as he saw someone, he would request them to chant Hari Hari. Whoever heard Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chant Hari Hari also chanted the holy name of Lord Hari. In this way, they all followed the Lord, very eager to see him. After some time, the Lord would embrace these people and bid them return home, having invested each of them with spiritual potency. Each of these empowered persons would return to his own village, always chanting the holy name of Krishna, sometimes laughing, crying, and dancing. So you can see by the power of Lord Chaitanya, who's acting in the mood of acting as a devotee. These citizens are also becoming empowered to also preach about Krishna. They're becoming devotees. Such an empowered person would request to everyone and anyone, whomever he saw, to chant the holy name of Krishna. In this way, all the villagers would also become devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. People from different villages who came to see such an empowered individual would become like him simply by seeing him and receiving the mercy of his glance. When each of these newly empowered individuals returned to his own village, he also converted the villagers into devotees. And others came from different villages to see him, and they were also converted. In this way, an empowered man went from one village to another. All the people of South India became devotees. Thus, many hundreds of people became Vaishnavas, and they passed the Lord on the way, and they were embraced by him. In whatever village Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed to accept alms, many people came to see him. By the mercy of the Supreme Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone became a first-class devotee. Later, they became teachers or spiritual masters and liberated the entire world. In this way, the Lord went to the extreme southern part of India, and he converted all the provinces of Vaishnava, all the provinces to Vaishnava. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest his spiritual potencies at Navadvip, but he did manifest them in South India and liberated all the people there. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's empowering of others can be understood by one who is actually a devotee of the Lord and who has received his mercy. So in this one verse where it's talking about how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't manifest his spiritual potencies at Navadvip, but he did manifest them in South India. Prabhupada says in this purport, at the time there were many Smartanas, non-devotee followers of Vedic rituals, at the holy place of Navadvip, which was also the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Followers of the Smriti Shastra are called Smartas. Most of them are non-devotees, and their main business is following the Brahminical principle strictly. However, they are not enlightened in devotional service. In Navadvip, all the learned scholars are followers of the Smriti Shastra, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not attempt to convert them. Therefore, the author has remarked that the spiritual potency of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not manifest at Navadvip by his grace, but by his grace manifested in South India. Thus, everyone there became a Vaishnava. By this, it is to be understood that people are really interested in preaching in a favorable situation. If the candidates for conversion are too disturbing, a preacher may not attempt to spread Krishna consciousness amongst them. It is better to go where the situation is more favorable. This Krishna consciousness movement was first attempted in India, but the people in India, being absorbed in political thoughts, did not take it. They were entranced by political leaders. We prefer, therefore, to come to the West, following the order of our spiritual master. And by the grace of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this movement is becoming successful. So the reason why I read this is because, first of all, we can see the power of the devotee, of the Lord. and the power of Lord Chaitanya. He goes to South India, and just by chanting this holy name, the citizens are converted to Vaishnavism, and they themselves are also becoming spiritual masters and teachers and converting other people to Vaishnavism. But what's really important here is that the citizens were open to receiving this instruction. And so someone once told me, I remember we had this girl that would come to the temple every morning, and she was a staunch Christian. And she would never take any prasadam with us because she knew we offered it to Krishna. And one morning we asked her, why are you coming here? And she said, I'm coming to all convert you to Christianity and show you the truth. And so my ashram leader would try talking with her every day. And finally somebody told her, you shouldn't waste your time so much because she's not open to it. She doesn't want to hear about it. Go after bright mango. So the Vaishnava may make some attempts, to help people to bring them to Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, they have to be ready to receive it. So we can see in this situation, not only the four Kumaras, they wouldn't come to this planet, they wouldn't come here. But because Prithu Maharaj, he made his kingdom sinless. The four Kumaras came because the citizens were ready to hear their instructions. And they're ready to accept them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come. So you can see in the same way, like I said, Srila Prabhupada, he came to the West to spread Krishna consciousness. And he came at the perfect time when people were, looking for these types of things. And even though there were many bad habits, still, their hearts were open. They had a little bit of faith. It said that the first step of Shraddha, is when you hear someone speaking and you say, okay, let me hear a little bit what they have to say. That's kind of like the first beginning stages of Shraddha, that you're like, okay, let me hear what they have to say and see what's going on. And then, the person hears what they have to say, and you can see that the devotees here in the West, they heard what Srila Prabhupada had to say, and they accepted it and followed it. So in this way, we have to try to make the citizens of the world somewhat open to hearing this message of Krishna consciousness. This is why Srila Prabhupada told Peter Barash. He said, even though Peter Barash was this big businessman and professional tennis player and all these things, Peter Barash told me that Prabhupada told him, make people open to vegetarianism. Because by making them open to vegetarianism, gradually that'll open their heart where they'll be able to accept our philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So the mercy is available to everyone and anyone, but they have to be willing and able to receive it. So the citizens of Prithu Maharaj's kingdom, they're very fortunate because not only did they get to hear from Vishnu, then they get to hear from Prithu, but they also get to hear now from the four Kumaras. So they have the ultimate sadhu sangha going on right now. So this should be an inspiration that the more we open our hearts in Krishna consciousness, the more we accept these instructions, and the more we work to increase our faith and purify ourselves, the better and sweeter things will get in Krishna consciousness. Krishna will send all types of amazing association and put all different sorts of opportunities within our way so that we can come closer and closer to him. But we have to prepare ourselves to be able to receive it. Otherwise, it's kind of like if you're trying to hold water and you don't close your hands, the water kind of just falls out, falls through. So let's see. I think that's all I have to say on this verse. Manchakapatrubesh kripa sindhu bevacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. We have a few minutes for questions or comments. Is there anything you guys would like to say? Discussion on this point? Yes, Prabhu.
With the sinless, was it that it was sinless because it came for two, that the Kumars came, or that the Kumars, when they arrived, they helped them make it sinless?
It was, well, Prithu Maharaj, it said that during the reign of Prithvi Maharaj, everything on the surface of this globe was sinless, because he was doing his duty as a Shakti-based avatar, and he had this. The Lord's was empowering him to rule, and so really first it was kind of by Prithvi Maharaj, because he was a sinless personality, and because he was a great man, the citizens were following after him, as people tend to do, to a great personality. And so therefore the planet, the globe, became sinless. And then the four Kumaras kind of came on the scene, and they're going to further purify everything. So it was the atmosphere of the planet that attracted the four Kumaras. Kind of like the atmosphere of this temple. It attracts people that are ready to hear about Krishna consciousness. Like we had this couple here the other day. They're like, oh, I've seen this place for so long. I was thinking, what is this place? I want to come in. I want to see. And you can see that they're very open to Krishna consciousness. But we have millions and millions of people on First Avenue. They walk by this place every day. They don't come in because they're not ready. They're not attracted to the atmosphere. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah, you have something else? Okay.
Well, I just want to go back. So, sinless is such a powerful statement,
Right.
to be sinless. So, so we went from Ingena, who was completely sinful, completely sinless. And is a sin action and words, or what would constitute a sin?
What would constitute a sin? That's a very, very good question. I asked that question once, and there's probably many answers to this. So what I'm going to tell you is probably just one piece of what could actually be said on this point, because we hear this word sin a lot. And so when I asked somebody, what is a sin in Krishna consciousness? And they said, it's anything that really kind of separates us from Krishna. The activity that we do that will separate us or come in the way of that relationship, or that is really just kind of against what Krishna wants. Is there anything that anyone would like to add about the definition of sin? Any other thoughts on that?
Should Bhagavatam say deliberate? Peace was awesome.
Deliberate disobedience, yeah. Yeah, because then you get into the details of unconscious and conscious, and then there's obviously, of course, different reactions for if something's conscious and if something's unconscious. So it can get really detailed, but yeah, that should give you a simple answer. Yes, Prabhu?
It seems related to creating karma.
Creating reactions.
Like something that would create karma would be something.
Create karma.
Highest activities also create.
Yes, that's what I was thinking, yes.
If there could be like motor fitness.
Karma. Good karma.
Yeah.
That's karma and entangles us. So simple activities are things that you think of that are harmful. Harmful to our own soul, harmful to other people, other entities. But bias activities create karma as well. So there's in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there's a definition. In his commentary on one of the 6 essential qualities of pure devotional service, Jiva Goswami has a very extended discussion of the different stages of what he refers to as papa. But so we generally think of papa as sin, but he's also talking about good karma as well. Good karma lies in seed, right? And eventually it fructifies. So even that binds us.
Right. And so isn't that detrimental to your spiritual progress? Even if you're pious, it's not detrimental in a way. Compared to not being
Yeah, especially if you get stuck there. And the pious activities can help can help open our hearts. It's like in the second chapter of the Bhagavatam, in one of those verses that describes the 9 stages of bhakti that Rupa Goswami has lists in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In one of his commentaries, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests 14 stages of bhakti, and 2 of them are before Shraddha, and they kind of amount to Ajnata Sukriti and Jnata Sukriti. So, so there's regular Sukriti, which might help us become open to engaging in bhakti Sukriti. So those things come up. There's a background to Shraddha, is what he suggests.
Yeah, a whole class could be given on that. Classes.
What does Krishna say? Krishna admit himself in the Bhagavad Gita that the way of karma, it's untraceable. It's very,
Yeah.
This is good enough. It's very mysterious. Karma no karma.
Yes.
Karma no. That the way of karma is very mysterious. In other words, you can't untangle it, really.
Is breakfast ready? Okay, then we should probably stop here because it's 8:56. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. I didn't see the lights on yet, so I was like, yeah, they're usually on by now.
Because they did all the things but turned the lights on.
Okay, all right.